If you're interested in what I look like in real life and want to learn more about me, then follow my Instagram page at Joe the Insomniak. Hey everyone, so I haven't been uploading as much recently. I was actually gone for a month and I had a lot of scheduled videos that were uploading, and I actually spent a long time sorting out some other stuff I had to first, but now all that's out of the way, I can go back to my normal full-time videos. They're going to be a lot longer and more often, so you've all got that to look forward to. I hope everyone's doing well, and let's get into the video. But this is one of those memories that I just wanted to share. Back in 2007, I started a tech job with an IP, phone, VoIP, DT1, long distance company. The company is no longer around, and honestly, I don't know how they stayed in business as long as they did. It was really a scam, but thankfully, I was on the IT side of things, so I didn't have to sell anything. It was a small tech support call center. The customer would call in for Verizon, etc., and say DT1 lines were down, or they're suffering outages. I was the only female on my team, having to prove myself and show that I could do anything my male counterparts could. Now it didn't take long, and customers actually respected me for being able to handle things. After making my mark, I decided to take the 10-hour night shifts. I worked from Wednesday to Saturday, 1 PM to 12 AM, and after 6 PM, I was completely alone in the whole building. The rush to get out of the office by 6 PM was insane. I couldn't blame them, but I decided having 3 days off was better than 2. Like I said, I was by myself most of the night. I would have to keep an eye out on emails and make sure I answered calls. It was a very slow shift. I would get a lot of video game / reading or work done during this time. But sometimes, I would just wander around the building or call around to get away from my desk. I would have the VoIP phone system connected to my cell phone, so no calls were ever missed. This allowed me to grab a soda, go get food and so on. One time while I was away from my desk, I was going down to the lunchroom to grab a soda. The vending machine was on the basement floor. The basement had a wall of windows and one set of security doors. Same for the main entrance. Only there was a camera facing that door. Nothing else really made you feel very safe there. Now I really didn't like going into the basement much, because the lack of building faced an acre of woods. They're very dark. There was a walking path to the woods, but for some reason, they didn't install lights on the path. No one was ever really sure why that was, but it didn't help the creepy factor. Sometimes, I would see animals run past, but others, I felt as though somebody was watching me. I always tried my best to make it fast when getting a soda or snack, but often, it wasn't enough. So one night, I was making my way down to the basement of the building to get a soda. It was a slow dragging night, and needed a little caffeine to pick me up. I counted my money as I walked to make sure I had enough to get in and out quick, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw something dart from the glass back into the darkness. I stopped dead in my tracks, tried to scan the forest, but, like I said, it was just blackness. I felt a bit uneasy, and everything told me to turn on my heels and go back to the desk. But it's 9 PM. I had a fair bit of time left on my shift before I could blow this pop stand. I tried shaking my feelings off, briskly walking over to the soda machine. I made my selection. The soda dropped as I bent down to get it. I then heard a loud pinging sound. It was as though somebody hit the glass with something. I stand straight up, feeling the hair on the back of my neck standing. I slowly turn around and was scared to see somebody out there, but as I made the full turn, I saw once again nothing but darkness. I thought this was a good time to book it back up the main floor. I didn't bother with the elevator. I went to the stairs and ran up them. My heart was already racing from having to go down them in the first place. Then the loud bang, and now running up 2 flights of stairs. Once I was back at my desk, I sunk down in my chair, trying desperately to calm down. It was just one noise. I was in a building with doors that are locked. I kept saying it's over and over. Eventually, some relief come over me, until suddenly I got the feeling of being watched. I peeked up over my cubicle wall, looking around my office. Nothing seemed to be out of place. That was until I turned my face to the front of the building. Outside the first set of doors was a slender, tall, dirty male. He was cupping his hands around his eyes to try and see past the reflection of the lights. I dropped back down in my cubicle before he caught sight of me. He didn't look like anybody I'd ever seen at my office before. It's now past 9 AM. There is no good reason why he is checking out my office. As I sit in my chair, I hear the doors shake. I slowly stood up and watched him pull out the handles of the doors. They didn't budge, to my relief. But as I watched him, he turned his face to me. His face appears dirty and bruised. He then makes eye contact with me and begins slamming on the glass. I was so scared. It's the middle of the night. I was all by myself out in the middle of this building complex. I grabbed my headset and dialed 911. While getting the operator on the line, this guy was walking back and forth from one side of the glass to the other. I said what my name was and that I needed somebody to come out, that there's a guy trying to break in. I was so scared. While speaking with her, the guy disappears from view. I look in all directions, but I cannot see him. I knew that he would just walk off, but I didn't know where. But he obviously wasn't going, not with how hard he'd been banging on the door. Then out of nowhere, a good-sized rock come out of the middle of nowhere and smashes against the door. I screamed, went under my desk. The operator said to me what has happened. I explained that a rock smashed through the glass door. She then questions me if the glass is broken enough to let him in. I didn't want to stand and look, but she told me in order to know where he was, I had to. So I reluctantly crawl out from under my desk and just peek over the wall. I saw a huge crack down the first part of the door. Now, I immediately sit back down telling the operator to hurry. She said they're on their way. I mean, it literally feels like you're standing there, stuck still, and there's nothing you can do. Help seems an eternity away. Then I hear another smash against the door, but along with the glass breaking sound, I now hear sirens coming towards the building. It's music to my ears, one and truly. I told the operator that the police had arrived, and thanked her for all her support. I stand up, look over to the cubicle wall, seeing the red and blue lights flashing wildly. But the thing is, I didn't see where the guy was. Now the top part of the door is completely smashed. I can see that the rock is lying on the inside part of the entryway. One officer come in through the front door, and the others were coming out of the area. I could see their lights moving all around the parking lot. The first officer come in. He come to greet me. He was very patient. I then stood there for a while, explaining everything that happened. Soon, my boss arrived and checked on me. At some point, my husband was called, and I was told that I would be escorted home by one of the officers. I took the next few days off and started looking for another job, one where I'm not on my own. When I gave my statement, the officer explained that the person could be partnered with an ex-co-worker who was fired a few weeks prior for stealing and not showing up. He knew when people came and went. He knew when we kept the cell phones open and what ones we were selling. I went on to leave this job about a month later and started at a credit card machine company. It was an office full of people. Still a call center, but it felt a lot safer, especially with security cameras all over the place. Like I said before, this company is no longer around. It was brought up by another company and basically liquidated all the funds that were worth something. I pray I never see that man again. When I was a young teenager, I had a commercial gig with my parents as a night shift worker. You know, the ones who come into your friendly neighborhood Chili's after the other guys close and really clean up the place. The restaurant was located in a fairly busy area of town, in a mini strip mall, so we weren't really concerned about security since there was always a patrolling night guard riding around the strip's parking lot, making sure there was no trouble. Well, on this particular night, it was myself and my mother cleaning one of our nightly buildings by ourselves, while my dad and sister were doing the other one across town. Everything was going extremely smoothly until my mum realizes that she's left our new box of Tide outside the truck. Me being unfazed by the aspect of being alone outside at 1 AM in the morning, choose to go and get it. When I'm locking the door to the truck, inching my way back inside, I notice this guy standing there, just staring at me by the parking lot. He wasn't moving or anything, just staring. It's creepy as hell, so I merely walk back inside, make sure the door's locked before continuing to do my business. I move out of the kitchen, into the front dining area, and begin mopping. That's when I noticed that the creepy dude was now standing beneath the front door awaiting outside, staring in at the glass looking at me. The dude practically screamed homeless with dirty clothes, long hair, a wild beard, and really freaky eyes. Beginning to be a bit freaked out, and not wanting to seem rude, I give him a quick glance before going back to my work, but before I could really do it, he started slowly and almost rhythmically pounding on the glass with his hand, staring directly at me. By this point, I was pretty much done with trying to be patient with him, promptly yelling at him. My mum heard me yelling from the kitchen, coming outside to see what all the commotion was. I then pointed at the man. The moment that I did, I saw my mum quickly back away. She then grabs my wrist and brings me back as well. I want to turn around to see what's up, but I barely have time. We reach the back of the stockroom at the restaurant. We stay there while my mum called the strip security guard to let him know what was up. Later that evening, after the security guard came and checked out the place, he said there was no sign of the other guy, but at the front door that led to the restaurant, there was a discarded razor lying in the middle of the pavement, and another one in the bushes at the place that he had been pounding on the glass. My mum then revealed to me that when she turned me away, he looked at her, giving her this truly menacing grin, and lifted up the knife to the glass and began tapping at it. We never found out who he was or what he was planning to do with us. I was working night shift at a memory care unit. It's like a nursing home for people with dementia. The nurse's desk is in the center of the unit, and north and south there are 250-yard hallways with resident rooms lining them. At night, things are slow, so the lights are shut off. The hallways have motion sensors on. In case a resident wakes up, the light pops on. There are 5 large fluorescent lights going down the corridor ceiling. Sitting at the desk minding my own business when, all of a sudden, at the end, the furthest light comes on. I wait for a resident to come out of their room, but nothing. For a few seconds, I'm waiting until the closest light blinks on. Weirded out, I wait a bit. The third one pops on, as though somebody's coming towards me. The fourth blinks on, then the 5th light. My whole body is froze with terror, and then, boom, they all click off. To this day, I've never been so scared in my life. Something was moving slowly down the hallway, but I couldn't see it, but the sensors could. None of the lights should have went off in perfect timing. I will never forget the feeling. Just plain horror. I worked night shifts with a serial killer. She is a nurse, had killed 8 people since 2007. She was convicted 2 months after my last shift with her. Now I work for a private home care company that was outsourced to long-term care homes. I worked with Elizabeth at Telfer Place. She had a lot of cooped up anger towards residents, and would pick them based upon aggression and how manageable they were. The lady assaulted at Tenor was hit her, and screamed bloody murder if you tried to provide any care. She used insulin as a weapon, because it's a silent killer if given in large enough doses, and has fairly hard to detect properties if the resident already has problems. She was a really weird lady, and pretty useless as a care provider, She wouldn't do any heavy lifting or anything. I hated her because of that. Most shifts I worked with, it was just the two of us at nights. When we worked together, she would follow me around and talk. I didn't really listen to her, which I kind of regret, because it would have really provided some insight into her mind. She said weird stuff about wanting to inbreed animals. I wish I had more information on her, but knowing who she was and what she was capable of is truly terrifying.